Putin Bad News. Putin's legacy is in jeopardy as his master plan comes to light. While many people think of Russia as a mafia-run state with nukes, one analyst has exposed Vladimir Putin as the real threat he is. Scholars have been debating the potential consequences of an authoritarian state replacing Western democracy for decades. Western democracy has been heavily criticized for being hypocritical, bureaucratic, and corrupt. Even if some of the criticisms are correct, no one living in the 21st century can even fathom what the alternative would be like. Spreading these ideas like wildfire is a top priority for Vladimir Putin. Russia's military has persisted through the bloodiest century in human history to reassert itself as a major player in global affairs in the 21st century. Russia is more than just a mafia-run country with nuclear weapons, however, according to Ivana Stradner of the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies. As part of his strategy to undermine Western credibility and give legitimacy to his invasion of Ukraine, Putin has worked to expand his sphere of influence around the world. Russia's leader has done everything he can to dissuade potential allies from supporting his country by strategically positioning his pawns to encircle weaker nations. It is an undeniable fact that Russia's national pride is strongly tied to the country's military prowess. Every year, the country spends millions commemorating the nearly 80-year-old victory over the Nazis at Stalingrad. Putin, worried about leaving an unfulfilled legacy in the 21st century when there are no barbarians at the gate, has flexed his military outwards. Later in life, he realizes that expanding the Russian Empire is the way to gain favor, at least with Russia's far right. Russia's undeniable dependence on Putin. A much larger disinformation war is being fought around the clock as bombs continue to fall on Ukraine. Putin's plan calls for a significant reduction in NATO's credibility as a whole. Given Ukraine's strategic location directly south of Moscow, the possibility of its joining the alliance has been a major concern for Russia. However, for Russian nationalists, who object to the idea of Western enemies ruling over former Soviet territory, this is a matter of principle as well. Even before the tanks started rolling in back in February 2022, tensions were high within Ukraine due to the presence of pro-Russia separatists who have staunchly defended their country's independence from NATO and are willing to side with Putin. Information campaigns were already underway before the coup against Kyiv's government began. According to Stradner, one of the most successful campaigns to convince the Russian public was the claim that the United States was producing bioweapons in Ukraine. They are warning Russia that they will be attacked. Russia's defense minister was discussing bioweapons a day before their invasion. According to an interview Stradner gave to news.com.au, he also claimed that the United States was deliberately producing monkeypox in Ukrainian labs. The Minister of Defense also claimed that DNA from the COVID-19 swab tests was used to create a virus that would only affect Russians. There will be far-reaching effects from Russia's dissemination of this false information across Eastern Europe and Africa. However, Russia's information machine has an impact far beyond Ukraine. Russia has used complex information campaigns to vilify NATO and influence the opinion of smaller Balkan states, leading them to believe Russia is on their side. Ultimately, Putin wants nothing more than to show these countries that NATO is nothing but a paper tiger, Stradner said. Putin has manipulated conflicts between non-NATO countries, especially the recent Kosovo-Serbia incident in May, in which Serbian far-right groups attacked 30 NATO peacekeepers. To what end did NATO resort? A statement was released by them saying, "This is unacceptable. That's what Putin wants," she explained. Proof that NATO won't intervene. According to Stradner, Russia is fueling tensions in these areas by supporting far-right proxies, in an effort to divert attention away from the conflict in Ukraine. Protesters in the recent military coup in Niger flew Russian flags as a symbol of defiance against Western influence. Experts worry this is further proof of the power of Russia's rhetoric even in remote areas. Putin is most concerned about leaving a negative legacy. Coming from Eastern Europe, Stradner emphasized the West's radically different perspective on war and conflict. People always want to know, why would Putin invade? It'll just hurt his economy. That's beside the point. It's all about honoring the greatness, pride, and dignity of the Russian people. That's what drives him, anyway. She hoped, as Stalin and Lenin had before her, to leave a lasting legacy. He hopes to be remembered as the person who saved Russia and made it great again. He has been preparing for this for a long time, spending the first 20 years of his career eliminating the liberal opposition. He had a firm grasp on the manipulation skills required to get the West to cooperate with Russia. While some in the West recognize Russia as a potential nuclear threat, many others dismiss the country as merely a mafia-run state. People must realize that people in other parts of the world do not share their views. Putin only needed to break up the West to benefit Russia. While the idea of Russian disinformation on a broad scale is not new, Stradner warns that the West has fallen behind as authoritarian regimes push to become the new 21st-century superpower. The ultimate goal is the same for China and Russia, and it involves the complete breakdown of global order and trust in the United States to be the planet's fixer. Stradner is adamant that the West must join Russia's information war to advocate for the overthrow of authoritarian regimes if it is to put an end to this rhetoric.